Some big breaking news to bring you. We've just been speaking about some of the managers that might be potentially available in the months to come. Well, one manager has just become available in the last few minutes because Real Madrid have sacked Xabi Alonso with the...
His replacement, who we haven't touched on yet, Alvaro Arbeloa, is massively popular with Real Madrid fans. They love Arbeloa. They love what he represents. They think he sort of stands up for the club and its interests, and has done so ever since his days as a player in the Mourinho team era. So they love Arbeloa. That is absolutely clear.
I think what many people still haven't realized about Arbeloa's new Real Madrid is that this isn't happening by accident. It's not luck, and it's not just raw talent scattered across the pitch. We're talking about a coach who lived inside a championship locker room, who understood what makes Madrid win when no one believes, and who is now trying to replicate that mentality with a new generation. When you see Mbappe and Vinicius Jr. deciding tough games, when you watch the team suffer, get pressed and still walk away with the win, that's not improvisation, that's construction. That's a clear philosophy built around protagonism. We're talking about a club that already lived through historic eras under Zidane, who turned superstars into decisive machines. And now Arbeloa is trying to do something similar, bring back that cold, calculated, lethal Real Madrid identity, a team that may not control all 90 minutes, but absolutely controls the decisive moments. Take a look at this.
And now the risk. Just with this little push.
Notice how even in the tightest matches, there's always an individual play that changes everything. A dribble, a burst of pace, a last-minute penalty. That's not coincidence, that's philosophy. But the real question is, how sustainable is this new model? How strong can this Real Madrid become if the midfield fully clicks? Today, we're diving deep into Arbeloa's transformation of the team, breaking down how he's rebuilding a winning mentality similar to Zidane's, and why even when they suffer, this Madrid keeps finding ways to win. Before we continue, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel to help us grow, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss any videos. Alvaro Arbeloa's new Real Madrid is not just a change of coach, it feels like the revival of a philosophy. There's a clear sense that he is bringing back something that defined the Zinedine Zidane era, individual protagonism above all else. This is not a team obsessed with absolute possession control or with dominating every statistical category. Instead, it's a side that accepts suffering, embraces difficult moments, and trusts that at some point, a superstar will decide the game. That belief is not random, it's strategic. Arbeloa understands that Real Madrid's DNA has always been about decisive moments rather than perfect performances. And today, those decisive figures have names: Kylian Mbappe and Vinicius Jr. Arbeloa has built a structure that revolves around maximizing their freedom and explosiveness. Vinicius holds width on the left, constantly isolating defenders in one-on-one situations, while Mbappe operates with fluidity, often drifting as a false nine but attacking spaces like a pure striker. The idea isn't to cage them in rigid tactical instructions, it's to create an ecosystem where their instincts can flourish. When Madrid suddenly shifts gears, the acceleration feels violent and unpredictable, leaving defenders unsure whether the final blow will come from the left flank, through the middle, or in transition. What makes this approach fascinating is the psychological dimension behind it. Opponents know that even if they control large portions of the match, one lapse in concentration can be fatal. Arbeloa's Madrid may not dominate all 90 minutes, but it dominates the decisive seconds. This echoes the old Zidane blueprint: survive the storm, stay mentally strong, and strike when it matters most. It's not about overwhelming the opponent with constant pressure. It's about creating a constant threat that forces rivals to play on edge. Ultimately, this version of Real Madrid is built around controlled chaos. The team can look vulnerable, even exposed at times, but there is always a sense that a spark is coming, and when that spark ignites through Mbappe or Vinicius, the shift is instant and ruthless. Arbeloa's system isn't designed to be aesthetically perfect, it's designed to win. And when Madrid accelerates under this new model, it becomes nearly impossible to predict where the fatal blow will come from, only that it's coming. Tactically, the idea is very clear. Vinicius Jr. fixed as the left winger, wide, aggressive, constantly attacking the fullback in one-on-one situations. He stretches the pitch, forces the defensive line to shift, and creates isolation zones where his speed and unpredictability become lethal weapons. On the other hand, Mbappe operates as a false nine, but not in a static or traditional sense. He has complete freedom to drift to the right, attack the half spaces, drop between the lines, or even appear as a wide runner during transitions. The structure is flexible, but the intention is consistent. Maximize space, maximize explosiveness. Take a look at this.
Rudiger. Alexander-Arnold, really clever ball. It's a beauty.
For. As Trent switches play, finds Kylian Mbappe. Great first.
Even when pinned back, even when Benfica seemed to have control, Madrid always managed to find Mbappe or Vinicius in space at some point. One transition, one diagonal run, one moment of hesitation from the defense, and suddenly the entire dynamic shifted. It's almost psychological. Opponents know they can't relax for a single second because Madrid only needs one opening to change everything. That's the defining trait of champions: efficiency over perfection. Arbeloa's Madrid understands that European nights aren't about dominating every phase, they're about winning decisive battles within the game. And when you have players capable of producing magic under pressure, you don't need 90 flawless minutes, you just need one moment. And more often than not, that moment belongs to Madrid. There was also the controversial match against Rayo Vallecano, a 2-1 victory sealed by a last-minute penalty converted by Mbappe. It was one of those tight, uncomfortable games that seem to slip away as the clock runs down. Madrid struggled to break down a compact defensive block, the tempo was disrupted, and frustration started creeping into the performance. The kind of match where control feels fragile and momentum swings unpredictably. Yet in the dying seconds, a single moment changed everything. That moment wasn't about beautiful collective buildup or total tactical superiority, it was about mentality. Arbeloa is trying to instill a simple but powerful principle: win by any means necessary. Whether through a moment of individual brilliance, a forced error, or a decisive penalty under pressure, the objective remains the same. Titles are not awarded for aesthetic dominance, they are awarded for results. And in high-stakes competitions, emotional resilience often outweighs stylistic perfection. This philosophy strongly echoes what Zidane once built with Cristiano Ronaldo at the center of it all. Madrid didn't always dominate every minute, but when the decisive instant arrived, Ronaldo delivered. Arbeloa is attempting to recreate that same dynamic with Mbappe and Vinicius. The structure creates the stage, but the stars provide the climax. It's a deliberate shift towards empowering individual responsibility in critical moments. In matches like the one against Rayo Vallecano, the psychological impact is just as important as the 3 points. Opponents begin to feel that even when they execute their game plan perfectly, Madrid will still find a way. That aura, the sense that a late twist is inevitable, becomes a weapon in itself. Arbeloa isn't just building a team, he's building belief. And when belief meets elite talent, even the tightest, most controversial games can end the same way, with Madrid on top.
Of course, not everything has been perfect. There were setbacks, like the match against Osasuna, where Real Madrid clearly lost control for long stretches. the team struggled to impose rhythm, the midfield looked disconnected, and defensive transitions were slower than usual. It was the type of performance that raises doubts and exposes vulnerabilities. Yet, even in the middle of that instability, there was a moment that changed the narrative. At the 73rd minute, when the game felt like it was slipping away and frustration was building, Vinicius stepped up and found the equalizer.
Terrific run from Valverde, and it's crossed in!
It wasn't just a goal, it was a reminder that no matter how chaotic or unbalanced the performance may seem, this Madrid side always carries a spark capable of reigniting belief. Individual quality once again compensated for collective inconsistency, reinforcing the idea that decisive talent can reshape even the most uncomfortable situations. And that's the central point. Even in draws or defeats, there's a lingering sensation that the outcome is never fully settled while Mbappe or Vinicius remain on the pitch. Opponents can dominate phases of play, execute their tactical plans effectively, and still feel uneasy, because all it takes is one acceleration, one miscalculated step, or one lapse in focus for everything to change. That constant threat becomes a psychological burden for any defense. From a mental standpoint, this is incredibly powerful. Teams don't just prepare tactically for Madrid, they prepare emotionally. They know that maintaining concentration for 90 minutes is mandatory because 1 second of hesitation can undo an entire match's work. Arbeloa's project may still be evolving structurally, but psychologically, the message is already clear. As long as those stars are on the field, there is always a chance, and in elite football, that belief alone can tilt the balance. But there is one essential piece for this entire plan to function at its highest level: Jude Bellingham. Arbeloa doesn't just need Bellingham on the pitch, he needs the Bellingham from his arrival season, the one who dominated midfields, imposed himself physically, and arrived in the box with perfect timing to decide matches. That version of Bellingham wasn't just a midfielder, he was a force that connected phases of play and elevated the collective intensity of the team. He scored decisive goals, won duels, and carried authority far beyond his age. The challenge, however, lies in his recent fitness struggles. Persistent fitness issues have limited his ability to perform at 100%, and at this level, even a slight drop in explosiveness or endurance can significantly affect impact. When Bellingham isn't operating at full capacity, Madrid's midfield loses vertical presence, the late runs into the box become less frequent, the second ball recoveries decrease, and the transitions lack the same dynamism. It's not just about goals, it's about presence and influence.
Without peak Bellingham, the balance between defense and attack becomes more fragile. The midfield may circulate the ball effectively, but it lacks that extra surge forward that destabilizes defensive lines. Defensively, his absence at full intensity also reduces pressing efficiency and physical coverage between the lines. He's the type of player who compresses space when Madrid defends and expands it when they attack. That dual capacity is difficult to replicate with any single alternative. For Arbeloa, unlocking this project fully means restoring Bellingham to that dominant version. If Mbappe and Vinicius represent the explosive edge of the team, Bellingham is the structural engine that sustains it. At his best, he bridges the tactical gaps, amplifies the star's impact, and ensures the system doesn't tilt too far into chaos. Without him at his peak, Madrid can still win through individual brilliance, but with him at full strength, they become far more complete, balanced, and potentially unstoppable. And this is where the real debate begins. Zidane had the perfect midfield formula: Toni Kroos, Luka Modric, and Casemiro, a trio that combined control, intelligence, defensive solidity, and big game experience. On the bench, he could still rely on players like Isco and James Rodriguez, who offered creativity and technical variation without lowering the level. It was a closed, balanced, and mature midfield unit that understood tempo, knew when to accelerate, and knew when to suffer. That structure gave freedom to the stars in attack because the foundation behind them was stable and reliable. Arbeloa, on the other hand, is still searching for that definitive balance. Is the solution a physically dominant trio built around Bellingham, Valverde, Camavinga, and Tchouaméni, prioritizing intensity, pressing, and vertical transitions? Or does he need to inject more creativity and unpredictability through Arda Güler, lean on the experience of Ceballos, or even take a bold step with the emerging talent of Franco Mastantuono? The choice isn't just tactical, it's philosophical. Does he build a midfield to control chaos or one to amplify it? That decision may ultimately define whether this new Real Madrid can evolve from a dangerous contender into a complete, era-defining champion. At the end of the day, Arbeloa's attack is already ready. The protagonism is defined, the offensive identity is clear, freedom, speed, and individual decision-making. But to transform this into a winning dynasty, like Zidane did, the midfield needs to lock everything in. Without that balance, the brilliance up front can be limited by structural gaps behind. The principles are simple yet unforgiving. Freedom for the stars must be supported by stability in the center of the pitch. When the attack fires but the midfield falters, even Mbappe and Vinicius can struggle to convert opportunities consistently, and the team risks letting results slip. Because at Real Madrid, it's not about playing beautifully. Promises on paper don't matter. What matters is lifting trophies. And if Arbeloa manages to balance this equation between star power and structural control, the new Real may still suffer during matches. It may still face pressure and adversity, but it will always find ways to win. That's the legacy Arbeloa is chasing. A team where the moments are decisive, the stars shine, and victory becomes the standard, not the exception.
Hey, if you enjoyed this documentary about Arbeloa's Real Madrid, leave a like, subscribe, and share the video with more people. That way, YouTube knows you liked it and can show it to a wider audience. These videos, especially the long ones, take a lot of time to make, and your support is really important to help us grow. Thanks for watching. Go ahead and click on one of our videos up here to keep following us. See you next time.